Good morning, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a good day, everyone, and God bless you. Alright, let's get into the news this Thursday morning. Okay, in the wake of the shooting, we've got former President Barack Obama responding to the attack on Rila Robb Elementary School, and once again, he went after the gun lobby. Now, of course, the gun lobby is not the gun lobby that they make it seem like, right? That there's these people out there forcing people to buy firearms, because people won't buy firearms unless they're pushed by the gun lobby to do so. Ridiculous, right? It's really against we the people who want to practice and take advantage of our Second Amendment right, which, by the way, doesn't come from the Constitution. It comes from God Almighty Himself. We have the opportunity to and the right, and the privilege to defend ourselves against tyrants or criminals. The Constitution merely codifies or puts into the highest law of our land that God-given right. So the New York Times quoted Obama saying, quote, "Nearly 10 years after Sandy Hook, and 10 days after Buffalo, our country is paralyzed, not by fear, but by a gun lobby and a political party that have shown no willingness in any way that might help prevent these tragedies." Let me repeat, this is Obama saying a political party that have shown no willingness to act in any way that might help prevent these tragedies? We're going to see here, folks, that the real guilty party of this is the Democrat Party. He went on to say it's long past time for action, any kind of action. And it's another tragedy, a quieter but no less tragic one for families to wait another day. Because a lot of the names of the victims hadn't yet been released. Now, of course, we have the former vice president under Barack Obama, and supposedly the guy in charge right now, Joe Biden. He adjusted the shooting at over the Texas as well. Once again repeating his deer in Kevlar vest comments and being rude and nasty and political about it. And in my book, using the Lord's name in vain needlessly. Okay, so he started off his comment on a soft tone talking about the loss, and then he went off on a tirade. As a nation, we have to ask, when in deity's name are we going to stand up to the gun lobby? When in DHS name are we going to do what we all know in our guts needs to be done, or will be adjusted that in a second? He wanted to claim that there have been 900 incidents of gunfire reported on school grounds since December 14, 2012 on the elementary school over in the Hook, Sandy. He talked to shootings in theaters, churches, and grocery stores. Buy is that, and don't tell me we can't have an impact on this carnage when we pay after the assault weapons ban. Mass shootings went down when the law expired. Mass shootings tripled. Of course, this is fake news. This is not true. We've debunked this. The majority, like a significant statistically insignificant number of gun crimes and crimes in general, are committed with assault weapons. It's like it not that was a dozen registered, but it's such a small number. The assault weapons ban did not stop crimes and shootings because people don't generally use assault weapons, which, of course, assault weapons is anything that looks scary to the left anyway. So here's the crazy things happening. We've got Gavin Newsom in the state of California, the governor, responding to the report before he even knew any information. Talking about who the hell if we cannot keep our kids safe. This is preventable, or inaction as a choice. We need nationwide comprehensive common sense gun safety now. Okay, folks, I quoted Barack Obama. I've quoted Biden, and I have quoted Gavin Newsom, all Democrats. We're going to see that this is their fault. And there really is a way to make this just about preventable. And it's not about infringing on the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens. And I think we'll see it right here. If you're listening to it, actually may play this first part, then play a second part of what Ted Cruz had to say, following the shooting. Remember, he's a Senator Warren, the senator from Texas. And obviously, this happened in Texas, a murder of this kind. You see politicians try to politicize it. You see Democrats and a lot of folks in the media whose immediate solution is to try to restrict the constitutional rights of law-abiding citizens. That doesn't work. That's right. Ted Cruz says that penalizing and punishing and taking away the constitutional rights of law-abiding citizens isn't how you stop criminals. He did give the answer to this, and I'll get to that in just a moment. But I want you to see just how crazy the left is. We have Ruben Gallego, a member of Congress, in Arizona, 7th Congressional District, went on a profanity-laden tirade against Ted Cruz. Rebecca Diego, Food. Ted Cruz, you care about a fetus but you will let our children get slaughtered. Just get your ass to Cancun, you are useless. Of course, as reference to Ted Cruz, vacationing or going to Cancun, with his family, I believe during the lockdowns, he also went on to the system to quote tweet this out. He said, "Just to be clear, fu Ted Cruz, you effing baby killer." He wasn't done. He said, "F your prayers. They haven't worked for the last 20 mass shootings. How about passing laws that will stop these killings? Yeah, how about we do something about stopping these shootings at schools?" Here is Ted Cruz. And he talks about this solution. "We know from past experience that the most effective tool for keeping kids safe is armed law enforcement on the campus, inevitably when there's a murder of this kind. You see politicians? That's right. He said it right there. Effective tool for keeping kids safe is armed law enforcement on the campus. How do we keep our kids safe? Armed law enforcement on the school campus. That's how we keep our kids safe. By having law enforcement there to protect them. That would make sense, right? But that's not what the left wants. That's not what they've wanted. And let me remind you, it's Democrats who've wanted and have removed cops from schools. And the sad thing is the reason why they do this. It's for political expediency. Now, you are a normal moral individual who doesn't like murder. Who doesn't believe sacrificing children and babies, who do not believe that innocent lives should be lost to push a political agenda, a Marxist evil agenda? You value life, but you have to understand, I know it's hard for moral folks like yourself, like me, like others with Judeo-Christian values, or even if you're atheist, agnostic, humanist values that values life and individuality. But these Marxists absolutely believed that the ends justify the means. Mao no problem starving millions of his people. No problem putting people in misery in gulags, killing them. As long as it brings around their tyrannical world order, they are a death cult, from termination of pregnancies to warmongers. And this police shootings at schools are the biggest and best thing. And it sounds terrible. This does not mean, but for them and their way of thinking is an ideal way to get people around, rallied up and emotional about gun control and eventual gun confiscation. Where when we no longer able to defend ourselves against tyranny, they will have absolute power, and they know how to pull people's heartstrings. That is why there is no way in hell that you can convince me, other than the fact that they want to use school shootings as a political talking point to push gun control, that they would oppose arming law enforcement in schools. They say they care about our kids, but they don't. They kill them in the womb, and they sacrifice them to these supposedly lone wolf people. And we'll talk about some other time in a tinfoil hat edition of the show about how all these tinfoil hat folks always seem to have very often previous contact with law enforcement. And we know about MK Ultra and other ways that these lone wolves may actually be operatives, but we don't want to go there. Right now on this particular events. The Democrat Party can never be allowed to forget how hard it has worked to expel police officers from schools at the state and local level. Democrats have and continue to push to remove police and lead school children defenseless. Okay, so here we go. Senators Chris Murphy and Elizabeth Warren, along with Representatives Ayanna Pressley and Miss Omar, introduced a bill that will prohibit federal money to use to fund police in schools. Not to mention that they've been wanting to defund the police in general. Guess who's on board? The American Federation of Teachers and the National Education Association. Why would they be against having armed law enforcement? They otherwise, I would say, look, normal people shouldn't have guns, it should only be for the police. So when you have a problem, you call the police to save you. Yet they don't want police to be there protecting our children from these shooters. Okay. At least 2/3 of American high school students attend a school with a police officer, according to the Urban Institute, and that proportion is higher for students of color. Now the national uprising for racial justice has led to a push to remove officers from security positions inside schools. Yes, the Democrats love black and brown children so much that they want to leave them even more defenseless. And Minneapolis, which has been a hotbed for all kinds of things. When students go back to school in this fall, they will have no police thanks to the local school board terminating its contract with the Minneapolis Police Department. All thanks to the unions. Okay. And why? There's lots of examples of this. Because there is no greater propaganda tool. It's a push to disarm American people than have children being victims of shootings in schools. And here is another nut job you may have heard of, who tried to make a political point here. So today, Abbott was flanked by several leaders on a stage as he discussed this situation and giving updates on what was happening. Okay. This is This Morning Today, Wednesday, following the shooting in his state yesterday. And guess who stood up and got up at the foot of the stage making noise except for Francis Roberto, or Robert O'Rourke, also known as Beto O'Rourke, or that's what he calls himself and that's what he's known as. Thank you for always watching and subscribing to the channel. Every channel subscribe is my motivation